Hi there and good evening. This is a new live, and I'm starting this new live with a very trendy yet important issue in retail and brand management, and this relates to sustainability. However, we're going to be focusing more on luxury and sustainable luxury practices with Advita, and I'm going to be joining Advita from across the continents. And we will kick off with the main themes related to this topic. Hi,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for joining me in. You see, it was really easy, right?
It is exceptionally easy.
That's that's the beauty of Instagram. I mean,
I
I get this type of question every time. Why do you go live on Instagram? And the first thing that pops onto my mind is this ease and this luxury of being able to connect with different people from across countries and continents, and really to be able to share all of these beautiful topics with them. So at Vita, I'm not
Yep.
going to be talking a lot. I just want to say thank you for joining me and
Most welcome.
to co- to start the conversation by asking you who you are and if you can introduce us to yourself and how you happened to be much interested in sustainable luxury.
Okay, so brief introduction. I'm Advita. I'm currently the Chief Brand Officer of the Global Luxury Group. I recently joined them. Before that, I was working with a consultancy, and I've had my education in business and media studies. So that's my background. Luxury was always part of my life. I come from a 100-year-old heritage. My great grandfather started a brand, and I'm part of a heritage. So that has always been inherently around. Sustainability, I think, is something that is everywhere now. It's no more an esoteric topic. Each and every one of us needs to press hard onto it because of the times that we are living in. COVID is a very good example of what happens when we do not take nature seriously. So yeah, that's where the interest came in. The two things emerged, and yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this very interesting aspect related to your entourage, your family business, and the way you were accustomed with these practices. Tell us a little bit more, if you can, about the business and the specifics of that business.
So I come from a Marwari joint family. Heritage has been a very important part of us. We were told that it's okay if your name isn't remembered as long as the umbrella name. So we go by the name Bangiwala is here, and that is how we've been. And it shows in smaller things like none of our envelopes have our names on it. It always has the brand name. So that is where importance. And as a kid, I remember we were told stories of our great grandfathers. So through storytelling and generating pride of where you come from, that is inherently where I come from. I haven't joined the family business yet. I work with another company as of now. But yeah, I'm very proud of those roots.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So now today we're going to be talking about this beautiful topic of sustainability. And we see that
Yeah.
as much as we go on social media, online, or we read like professional articles, we're looking at a lot of interest into that topic of sustainability. So why is sustainability becoming interesting and more important today?
I think because of the advent of internet, we could see the kind of effects we've had on people. Before that, media was very centralized and you could only see what they were showing. Suddenly, you had stories from corners of people. You could see floods instantly. You could see the kind of problems people had because of the toxic chemicals which were released into the oceans and all of that. I think part of that is one of the reasons that we have become aware. Secondly, same thing, but again, the love towards animal, right? More and more species are going extinct, and people have started realizing that. And Also, I think the more closer it comes to our home, the more we take it seriously. Today, there are cities which are extremely pollutant, which are causing, I mean, people have to buy air purifiers. Fortunately, where I live, that's not a concern. But if you look at bigger cities, that has happened. So two of the major reasons is that third, people are innovating and sustainability is becoming cool. So it's very cool to have a bamboo toothbrush. It's cool to carry a straw made of steel around. So part of that, major mass movements are usually moved by peer pressure, or so I believe. So all of those cumulatively is the reason why everyone's very interested in sustainability. Also, a part of it is the uh, again, I think we'll answer that when we talk about luxury more. The way people have started perceiving luxury and perceiving elitism, part of it is also your intellectual investment. And when you
Right.
carry something like that or support sustainability, you make a statement that I'm well educated, I understand what's going on in the world, and that mark is also one of the reasons why sustainability has become very important.
Okay, that's really interesting. And come to think about it, it's really true. I mean, it's what we're living today if we contextualize it. But if we go back to the mere definition of the term, what is sustainability?
Yeah. So I think on a broader level, what everyone understands of sustainability is being earth friendly, not harming animals. Very on a very so it's when I'm talking retail terms, what's that barrier between which you choose if a product is sustainable or not? Is that are they planting trees? Are they harming water bodies and all? But what is happening simultaneously is we are not just talking sustainability, we are also talking ethical purchasing. So this isn't
Right.
just limited to plants and trees, flora and fauna. We are also talking the good treatment of the workers. If someone's working in mines, taking care of them, having non-hazardous situations for them, and really thinking deeper. They're paid well, everything's done well. So yeah, so those are the two things that are now coming together. While we use the word sustainable more often, uh, ethical is also partly coming in.
Okay, so if we apply the term into managerial or brand management aspects, it looks at rethinking our practices to do things better, like doing things better. And we're going to be talking about those practices in a few. But so
Hmm.
today we're focusing again on sustainability, but in a luxury context. Do you believe that today luxury brands are being more concerned with the sustainability theme or label more than lower end brands?
So, if you think about it, luxury is the perfect space for sustainability. You look at LV or you look at any of those, they were meant to be passed down. They weren't something which was supposed to be bought and thrown.
Yeah.
They're the most fertile land, I'd say, in order to implement sustainability. So they've always had the upper hand that way. What has definitely happened is if you look at the leather industry, they're taking their course of time. While a lot of companies are trying very hard with their communication to say, you know what, we care about the planet, and it's very vague conversation. But yeah, I think surely people are moving because the segment that they're catering to are okay paying the premium, which comes with those sustainable and slow practices. So luxury is definitely, it's always been close. Now there's a major part of communication as well. Sure, if we talk about diamonds and all, I think Tiffany had to face a backlash saying, you know what, yeah, you're just corrupting the places, cutting the forest, digging mines, and not very safe. But again, so yeah, some people have had to answer. I think nowadays everyone has to answer. The customer has become very smart and demanding, show me your chain. And Gucci has promised that there will be around 95% transparency and they'll show the entire chain and all. So people are coming up saying, you know what, we're going to get this done. Because that's very important for the sale part of it. So sure, ethical behavior, one, important to business and sales, definitely. Yeah.
Right. So for luxury brands at the moment, it could be like a win-win situation because the more we go into showing people what we are doing and the value of what we are doing, the more that they are going to pay for it or at least appreciate the price of it. But come again and
Absolutely.
and look about these practices of lower end brands. It's very difficult for them to apply, if I might use the word, this sustainable practice, because it might cost them more to deliver the product and the end product. Whereas these brands compete based on the end price or the retail price, right? So how does
Yeah.
sustainability come in handy with them?
So actually, you're absolutely right. With the lower end brand, the pricing is a huge, huge issue. And that's also the reason, and so is the affordability, right? The reason the low end brand is so easy to buy is because huge machineries are in place, mass production has gone haywire thanks to industrialization. But I think when it comes to lower end brand, the force that will move it would be the customer. When a customer demands something. So I remember 2 years ago buying a bamboo toothbrush, and that costed around 150 rupees, which is approximately 1.5 pounds. But recently, when I bought one, it came down to 40 rupees, which is 40 cents. And that difference shows us that there is a huge demand because that's the only way the prices are coming down, right? That's basic rule. And that'll happen in a lot of places. I bought slippers which were like ethically sourced rubbers, and they cost 10 times more and look exactly the same. Now you have to think when someone's buying something or putting it that kind of 10x amount just for slippers that they're going to wear at home, it's going to be tough for the customer as well. So that it's a very systematic change, right? So it begins with me paying my house help correctly and well so that they can go ahead and afford a sustainable product. It's a huge, huge change.
Right, right. And I think we have been accustomed to a certain way of doing business to the extent that rethinking those practices isn't really manageable today because we don't have the
Yeah,
resources or different supply chains, as
yeah,
we're using the term, to allow us to resource and rethink.
right,
Uh,
right.
so today, we have intended to talk about a luxury sustainability practice, right? How can we think of this practice, or what does a practice mean in brand and retail terms?
I think so. It's very simple, right? If you look at it from the production end, the sourcing has to be ethical. Uh, it goes Yeah.
We're
So it
back.
goes hand after a while because, yes, we are. Because once the demand increases, you start, let's say if I'm growing cotton and that's the thing I'm going to use after a point when demand starts, I start cutting out very fertile land of forest to grow it more.
Right.
So that is where that the moment the demand goes up, all of these things start happening in the back end. The diversity is disturbed and all. So on the production end, thinking of those things that it's sourced right, that it does not harm the planet when it's sourced. On the production end, the people are treated correctly, they're paid well, all of those. When it comes to retail, it is understanding that distribution is done in the most carbon neutral way possible, so which means there's accessibility wherein I can walk 5 minutes and get a product. That kind of network being available on for the customer touch point, there has to be packaging is a very, very big thing. It's one of the biggest things that people are marketing these days, be it bottles made of glass, be it disposable, I mean, recyclable packaging, paper packaging, all of those things. So on different ends, those are the way we can look at it. Most of the time, the consumers react only with the end part of it. It's retail and the last final customer touch. So yeah.
And I don't know if it's trivial to think about it this way, but could we say that a brand could eventually come sustainable? I mean, are there layers that the brand could work on each time to become more sustainable? Are brands allowed to do that? Or does
So
sustainability,
sure.
it's like a black or white thing?
It never is. I think we've started to think about this way. So the problem comes in when we are okay with perfect overconsumption than we are with imperfect sustainability. So if I tell you, you know what, maybe carry a bottle, and you'd say, oh, you know what, everything's made of plastic. Why do you even wear your shoes that way? If you think about it, you'll stop using everything. And that kind of, and all I'm trying to say is, you know what, just carry a bottle. That has its own impact. But we tend to, when we don't do something, we tend to blame and pull out a chain thinking, you know what, if this is to be done, why not everything? And if everything can't be done, then what's the point of doing one thing? But it is not like that. And yes, they will eventually become sustainable in parts again, right? So if you look at the system, in order to run efficiently, a lot of consumption needs to happen. So we have to rethink the way it is rewarded, because in order to be truly sustainable, we need to slow down a bit. We need to
Right.
let things happen. We need to pick a product, use it for a longer period of time. I still remember reading that the first bulb that was ever created is still on, because that is how good the filament was. But then the cartel came together and said, if this happens, then what happens to my sales? And then they made a rule. If any of the bulbs run more than 2000 hours, then that person is punished. So that is the space we are coming from. And that's the kind of thing that we have to unlearn in order for this to function perfectly.
Right. Because if we're calculating like cost and profit, we're looking at like this reasonable thing again, seeing that it's so natural for luxury brands to work on sustainable concepts because they're already producing collections that are rare, and
Mm-hmm.
it would be very difficult for mass brands or more accessible brands to go with that concept, because as soon as they will market it, demand will increase, and then they will undo, I mean, every positive thing they have
Absolutely.
worked on.
Absolutely.
And there is this discrepancy, like continuous discrepancy between what
Yeah.
we aim at wanting from sustainability, but never being able to apply it actually, right?
Yeah, I think, and it happens. I think even the misconception around luxury brands being able to do it well. So if you think the high-end part of luxury is only for a few people, you'd still have people, buy a scarf or buy a lipstick, and so them, so that they do fulfill that aspirational end of being there but not being there. That's actually
Yeah.
where most of the money also comes in from, right?
Right.
So yeah, there's a perception building to luxury.
That's really important. I mean, it gives us a lot of space of reflection as well. Um, and sustainability is also becoming like a bandwagon theme, especially in communications. So, uh, on one hand, I believe it's really sexy, to work on things related to sustainability, but to what extent could this harm our brand if customers become aware all of a sudden that we are not trustworthy about what we're saying?
It's very easy, right? So I have lost faith in anyone who says something vague like we care about the planet. And it's sometimes so obvious, someone saying we are eco-friendly and then sending me something in a plastic bottle. Like, I can see the image, so don't try too hard. And also what happens is the sexy part of it, that's the only bit that companies are trying to cater to. So
Hmm.
initially our purchase cycle would be, I see something I like, I buy it. Now when I see something I like, I ask myself that, is this harming the planet? So there's that space and that guilt in case I buy something that harms the planet. So what companies do is they just simply add in a filter and they say, you know what, we are planting trees, we are doing this. And they eliminate that guilt so that you just end up doing the purchase. So a lot
Yeah.
of times you see the communication being extremely vague. I'm like, yes, you're planting trees, but where? How many? Against what? Which ones? There are so many questions which are unanswered. So what's happening with communication is they're just trying to fill in that guilt gap so that the sale comes through. That is what I believe currently the communication is at.
Okay. And since sometimes working with bigger brands or on a consultancy level, we might be able to predict some kind of trend, right? Today, we're like living intensely sustainability, something that we might have predicted 5 years ago. But are we going to also forecast that brands are going to be able to cope up or to keep up their practices to be sustainable in the future?
I think a lot of things are going hand in hand. While one there's one space wherein we are talking about sustainability. There's other we are talking about minimalism, wherein owning less, trying less. Also, reason of that is we are moving towards a very experiential economy where people want to travel more, move around more, work from home also allows that. So suddenly the kind of things that we own are going to shift drastically. Part of, again, and some things would be more solid. What I remember talking to someone for their master's project, and them asking, how do you think would people respond to, so leather handbags are way more stronger than vegan bags, they'll after a point tatter. And I said 10 years down the line, I don't even know if we'll need handbags. I mean, women are getting real pockets, people are moving towards minimalism, so we don't even know, we can't even predict the things, let alone industries which will exist in future. Of course there is going to be innovation, of course those things will be in place, but forecasting that right now, because what is happening is, while we are moving towards sustainability, we are thinking plant based more, and at times, so there's a lot of controversy around vegan as well. So these people, because of the demand, are going ahead and harming the Amazon forest because certain types of herbs and plants are available there. What we are not realizing is, while we've moved away from one place, we are still attacking others. Suddenly, demand of a lot of avocado is going to scrape out some forest somewhere and make them, even if it's exotic for that matter. So the kind of decisions we are taking needs to be a lot more research based, I suppose.
Right. And this leads us to question the customer, right? And to question to what extent the customer is also educated in terms of these important topics. Most of the times we see debates between customers, especially on social media, those who are with, those who are against. But if you come to observe more closely these comments, you would understand that most customers are just defending blindly something that they have just discovered, but they haven't really gone in depth, to understand the topic. So, I mean, are we all aware about all of these sustainability practices, or we're just like happy to talk about it?
So most of our opinions come from social media, and social medias are just echo chambers. So what I follow more, I hear more, I start assuming that that is the reality. Secondly, what has happened with the advent of internet is that there have been a lot of subcultures or communities that have been formed. And people are trying to fit into one of those communities. So while sustainability would have been something, what you do 10%, I do 20%, but let us go towards each other. It has become a yardstick with which we hit people. It's a morality stick. Oh, you don't use menstrual cups. Oh, you don't use that straw. And that is what is, and again, like that intellectual superiority is at play over there. Or the superiority complex. There is no superiority, but just the complex is at play over there.
Right. So this is like something important to look at address. We're going to look closely at brands and how they address that issue.
Yeah.
So also sometimes, if I may talk a little bit more about customers, we have seen that we might be with this idea of sustainability and sustainable practices. However, we might not be able to afford brands that are sustainably sourced or developed or produced. So if I like something but I cannot buy it, where do I stand in this consumption process?
So the thing is, sustainability is very glamorized on the internet. It is not like that. You reusing your old tin of chocolate is way more sustainable than you buying something. Part A. So the way we think of sustainability is very lush with like colorful jars and all. That's not that may be a small part of it. That's not the whole of it. I think customer today is way more aware. We look at I don't know about France, here in my own country, things have been very well. People are responding actively to it. You'd see a little kid. So there's a rule in the house wherein, so my aunt, my choti ma, used to create eco bricks. So now what we do is we have a plastic bottle in all of our rooms, and any kind of plastic, be it a chocolate wrapper, be it an Amazon parcels packaging, all of the plastic goes into that bottle so that none of it lands in the landfill. It's a very simple thing to do. But those are the little steps, and I see that being taken everywhere. The way people are carrying their own bags to buy groceries and all, carrying your own water bottle, opting for a cycle. I think everyone, at least I believe everyone is doing their bit because again, social media bombarding has worked in great way and people are realizing there that every action counts and that's amazing. So we've
Right.
moved away from that helplessness to, you know what, even this bit counts. And we've seen results, right? The ozone hole is now filled. Things are getting better. Governments have to take forests in consideration. And that's the power of how a consumer responds to a particular situation.
Right, right. So, like, sum it up, in terms of consumption, it doesn't have to be like being able to go and buy something that has been sustainably produced or put in front of
Yes,
us. It's like those little things that we can do
right.
to contribute actually to the well-being of this whole
Yeah,
sustainability process. Right.
right.
So I think we had a little question. We somehow managed to answer some bits of it. So how does management integrate sustainability in its brand process? And actually, are there different types of integrations with different types of brands? If we think about this process of
So,
sustainable
sure,
practices.
there is, right? So, part of it is research. So if we go to leather industry and the likes, and we've got huge setups which create plastic goods and all. One of their major investments are going to be research. So a lot of people wonder, like, you know what, how sustainability should be marketed, and the solution to that is to have a good product in the first place. You can't be selling
Right.
something and saying something. It that there has to be that kind of alignment for those companies which have inherently worked on be it animal skin and things like that. One of the biggest investments are research. Others are rethinking packaging. We've seen at some levels even Amazon do it, right? So when they send something which won't be harmed, there is a very minimal packaging. At times it just comes with a single cover and all, and that too made of cardboard. So those are things at very micro level that brands are doing. You'd see a lot of startups doing that, right? A lot of them
Right.
sending in, yes, a lot of packaging. I think more than we always studied bigger brands, but what the startups are doing is great because it is so easy to initiate from that space than to revamp a whole $1 billion setup and turn it around. So at least here in India, we've seen it. It's great. It's fantastic. The packaging, the way the content is made, everything is amazing and worth
Right.
studying.
Right. Perfect. Thank you for that. We have a little comment, I believe. Yes, this is the gap between behavior intentions and effective purchase, especially for sustainable brand intentions. Right. I mean, I believe this follows the discussion that we were developing related to the customer and his
Hmm.
ability to purchase from what brands are offering.
Exactly.
If now let's consider that we managed to source and produce a product and we're going to be retailing it. How does it show at a retail level or a service level that our product or production or offering is sustainable?
Uh, I'd say if it is, you'd know. So what is it made of? Uh, what are you packing it in? What is the label made of? One of my favorite brands here from India is Bare Necessities. They do a fantastic job. So they have, in the city that their headquarters are in, there is a refilling option. So every time your shampoos and hand washes get over, they have jars over there. You know what? Bring this stuff back, fill it. People are running. So the likes of Plum, there's another company which says that once you have 5 bottles, we'll come and collect it, give it back to us. We'll recycle it because we have a proper recycle center. So those things, that's how I know. Then again, right, then I'm more incentivized to purchase it because it stands with my morality, or at least makes me believe that I am practicing what I'm preaching. So those
Right.
are the little things. I think taking care of the product and the customer post sale and saying, you know what, we understand that this is where the whole thing happens. This is where the garbage comes in and all of that. And so this is what we are doing.
Mm.
That is one of the biggest ways in which I believe companies can stand out, because then there is an additional touch point as well post sale,
Yeah.
which is great,
Yeah.
which usually gets closed when in your traditional path.
Right. And there's like a little keyword that stuck on my mind at the beginning of our conversation that was related to storytelling. And now we're corroborating that idea here. It's that we have to tell people what we're doing and keep up. I mean, with them and follow up with them to make sure that the narrative also sticks with the reality of things, right? And we
It does.
noticed that most of these, as you said, startup brands or entrepreneurial ventures that are today developing, they are into that concept of narrative and storytelling. Can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of this?
Yes, it is. It is important because again, it shows you at least a glimpse of what the chain entirely looks like. So I
Yeah,
also see the manufacturer, I also see the farmer who's working on this, the condition of the farmer, and then I suddenly know that what I am supporting. This is especially important in space of luxury because people are so handmade is huge in luxury, right? So there's this slow making and taking time to create innovation. That's huge in luxury. And what happens with this is that the craft process is shown, the painstaking work. You look at a lot of, especially because currently I am into Indian crafts, you look at all of those and it's amazing. And the moment you see that, there is less of fight in your head. Is this worth the pay? That kind of, is it value for money question evaporates altogether, because you see
yeah,
the hours of work put in there, and purely the amount of labor and exclusivity in it gives its own premiumness and its own place in the market. So that storytelling, because sustainability is in the product, right? It's the base. We are still selling the best product out there. That's also the reason a lot of people claiming to have sustainable skincare and hair care at times go down, because the product does not perform. So sustainability is not a substitute to those things. It is a,
yeah.
recently I might as well add a mandatory layover which has to be there.
Right. And thank you for pointing this out. And now the thing that intrigues me the most is how sustainability applies across continents and across borders. I mean, the definition would be definitely the same, right? However,
Yeah.
does it matter to a brand operating in the United States as it is in Europe, as it is in India? Because there are lots of cultural differences and cultural practices maybe giving more value to sustainability than others. So what about this?
Yeah. So brands respond to the way countries respond in the East. So especially India is extremely rich in diversity and even the natural resources that we have, which means we respond accordingly. If you'd see it few years ago, people would confuse development with westernization. With recent times, people are realizing that that's not the same. In fact, a lot of people are taking pride in their inherent or their country rooted practices. So, for example, Ayurveda has gone huge not just in India but across borders. That comes from the spaces of herbs and everything else. Again,
Yeah,
aligns a lot with sustainability, right? Other forms of art, so like the clay works and all, works very well. If you go to the Middle East, the concept of attar, the perfume, which was created only with flowers, and the formulations were that great and organic, that has again picked up pace versus the perfumes which are created with artificial scents and all of those. So I
right.
think the East is getting its credit. It was long due, by the way, because we have seen world only from the lens of the West. Uh, with the advent of the internet, that is changing. That is why more of the practices which make way more sense are over here. Every time I tell my mother something or my grandmother something about sustainability, she's like, what, we used to do this. Glass bottles, oh my God, what are you talking about? We've done, this is the only thing that we have done. So, yeah. So again, I guess
Right,
we are
right.
everyone. I think this is a very international trend of tracing back to roots. Also
Yes,
because when there is no sustainability and demand is so high, there's no room for creativity. If you look at one of any of the most exceptional products that have been created or exceptional jewelry that still stands out as collector's item. One thing so special about them was anyone who commissioned them gave the brand a lot of time, a year, 2 year, to create a piece of craft. Today, it is expected of designers to send out 4 collections a year. And that's why you do not see that kind of innovation. You see jeans, and then you see ripped jeans, and then you see cut jeans. There is no innovation. The moment we
Yeah.
slow down, there'll be a lot of space for creativity, and this, us running back in history again and again, might slow down a bit.
Right. Okay. Very interesting. And just a little parenthesis. I don't know if it's relevant to talk about this, but
Yeah.
alongside this sustainability trend, there was also something that happened in fashion related to digital fashion. I mean,
Hmm.
instead of producing a lot, we would design digitally and invite customers to order the piece if they like it, and thus minimize
Hmm.
all of these samples and throwing up fabric, etc. So
Yeah.
does sustainability and luxury also branch out to this new trend of digitizing before producing?
Yes, customization, personalization, of course it does, because, but then again, right, very few have the luxury of doing so. Again,
Right.
right, prices go up extensively. Everyone's now designing their own shoes because the individualism has gone high in everyone. We want to stand out. We want to have something that is authentically ours. And that's something we've seen in all the spaces. Secondly, the way people are responding to standard sizes. So initially, that is where insecurities come in. If there are like 5 standard size of clothing and I don't fit in any, I think that I'm too thin or too fat. And now people are realizing I'm not supposed to fit the clothes are supposed to fit me. So if none of these are fitting, I'm going to get something of my own. That kind of
Right.
confidence and realizing that I'm not supposed to fit in, this is how it's happening. So that dilution of insecurity is also giving birth to that kind of personalization. People are proudly wearing plus size. The plus size fashion is a whole new category in itself these days. And all of those
Right.
things is happening. So that is, sure, part of it is sustainability, but there are other factors and trends that have a bigger role to play there.
Yeah, yeah. And branching out or helping and developing that sustainable concept. Um, Advita, I believe that we have managed to talk about very different themes related to sustainability and sustainable luxury practices. Is there anything else that you would like to add onto the conversation?
Uh, no, nothing really. I think we should just not think of sustainability as something extremely exclusive. It's supposed to be a part of our lives. I mean, the generation above us, people who used to call them baby boomers, or here in India, post-independence generation, uh, they're here for only so many years. At times, so happens that yes, I want to repeat my clothes, but the moment I step out, my parents will say, "Oh, you wore this that day." We don't want people to think of you a certain way and all of that. That kind of peer pressure at times stops people from doing that. Or even
Right.
the kind of unnecessary purchases that we see, the kind of decor, people have become so much more conscious with that decoration being recyclable, eco-friendly, and all of that. But for those who can't and they have to spend on these things, these little peer pressures affect the pace or the momentum of the movement. So I believe that we are peer pressure and we are influential to at least one person out there. And if we behave responsibly, because every reaction that goes out there influences a set of people. So at times, even if 100 people say, you know what, I'm supposed to buy one new dress every day, and if we sit and say, you know what, I'm going to wear mine 10 times a day, 10 times a week, it's fine. When you take that stand, you influence at least one other person, and that chain is extremely important to grow this. Because if we sit and wait for brands to do it, it's going to take its time. But
Right.
brands, I think no one innovates as fast as brands when they see their sales going down. And that is what we as customers have power to do. And I believe we should
Yeah.
use that power.
Oh my God, this is a lot of food for thought. I mean, we have to really sit down and reflect on that because truly this is a new perspective, a new way of thinking, actually, right? It's like reversing the logic of what we have been accustomed to process in our mind, especially in our consumer minds, right? Thank you so much, Advita. It has been
Thank you so
a
much.
delight. Thank you so much for having
Thank you for inviting me.
taken the
Thank you for
time.
having me here.
Thank you. And I will just have to say for those who joined us a little bit later that I will be sharing the conversation on IGTV and later on YouTube. And I would invite everyone who would like to have maybe more questions to you on the topic to see you on maybe LinkedIn or on your address on Instagram.
Yeah, my LinkedIn's available on my profile. So the link is there. I'm way more active on LinkedIn than I am on any of the social medias. So yeah, I think we can have a talk there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Advita. And
Thank
hopefully
you.
we meet up again with more
Yes,
beautiful discussions. Thank you so much.
we
Have a
definitely
nice
will. Stay
evening.
safe. Bye bye.
Ciao. Bye.